Hello everyone and welcome. We're going to be having a look at the psoas muscle today. A more kind of global and holistic approach to this muscle. So if you're not quite aware the points of contact that it has in the body, as part of the group of the hip flexors, the psoas runs like a band across the lower back, and then it threads through the pelvis and into the fronts of the thighs. Sometimes we can find that if the opposite of that, so if you have quite tight hamstrings, that can also affect the psoas muscle in terms of the movement of the pelvis and the way that the tension is going between the muscles. So often when one muscle is engaged, so when the psoas is engaged, for example, the hamstring is going to be slack and vice versa. So we're going to sort of play with warming up into this area and bringing more awareness to it for a therapeutic class. Yeah, it will be mostly lying down today with the focus more internally and isolating the muscles and the hip flexors and feeling into everything. But the first movement we're going to do is standing up. So very, very simple. We're actually just going to walk around. So as you walk, be ultra aware of how you're placing the foot down. So can you place the heel down and then roll to the tips of the feet? And the same with the other foot. So just walking is a really good way. I'm just going to continue walking in circles. I'm probably coming off the camera here. To utilise and to start to warm up your hip flexors. You can also understand a little bit more about where the weight is coming into the feet and how that might be affecting the openness of the hips, the tightness at certain points in the hips, and maybe if one leg is, I don't know, extending more than the other, it might have a slight sort of implication onto the weight in the feet as well. So yeah, just kind of exaggerating the movement now. We're going to bring the knee up towards the body and then kick the leg out a little bit more. Almost like, I know, it reminds me of like a flamingo walking or something like that. But it's just helping to warm up that part of the psoas into the fronts of the thighs. So even going for like a proper walk before the session might be a really good warm up. Okay. So after your stroll around, just coming down to the mat. So really just dig in now with your heels and begin to roll all the way down. So you're going to really draw the shoulder blades down. So you want them to be really flat on the mat behind you, the sides of the neck long. So you feel that space in between the earlobes and the tops of the shoulders. I'm going to start off with a very simple movement. So you can take the palms down alongside the body. I'm going to draw the right leg towards the chest and exhale up to the ceiling. So just doing that a few times. So when you bend and bring it back down, inhale towards the chest, exhale up and down. Inhale, exhale and down. Inhale, exhale and down. And then the same for the other side. So inhale, really try and hug the thigh into the chest. And exhaling up, rebending down. Inhale, exhale, and down. Inhale, exhale, and down. And once more on this side. Okay, so if you take your feet a bit wider,
hands a bit further away from the body. And just roll from side to side. Just feel the gentle movement into the back of the pelvis. And come back to the center. So we're going to keep this idea of a nice long line between, so each side of the back is lengthening down to the hips. Tailbone slightly curling up. And then bring the legs, so you're in this, what they call in Pilates, tabletop. So this becomes the tabletop, your shins parallel to the ground. I'm going to flex out through the feet to start with. Keep the knees at hip distance. If you have a block at home, you might like to use that in between the thighs here. So just try and squeeze the navel back, so you're flattening the lower back. Deep breath. And exhale. Inhale, keep the engagement of the thighs. If you do have the block, just remove it. Point out through the right foot and exhale to touch the toes down. Inhale to lift and reflex the foot. So I'm just going to reverse it now. Exhale, touch the toes down. Inhale to reflex and bring it up. So just going from side to side, try and keep the stability in your pelvis and the lower back connected as much as possible with the ground. So this is also utilizing the core strength as well as warming up into the hip flexors and the psoas. Okay, come back to center. Keep the squeezing of your thighs, the lengthening of the heels forward. Point through both feet. See if you can bring both feet down. Inhale to lift. So this one's a lot more tricky. You get that shake in the core. Point the feet, keep breathing. Exhale down. Inhale to lift. We'll just do one more. Keep the navel drawing back. And inhale up. Bring the thighs to the chest. You might like to hug the thighs in and just roll from side to side. Come back to the center. Bring the arms down. And then bring your feet back to the ground, so slightly further away than in bridge pose. Okay, so we're going to do the first movement again, but with a twist. So press down through the feet, the knees coming forward. Feel the tailbone reaching long underneath, lower back connection. Inhale, hug the right thigh to the chest. Exhale to extend. This time I'm going to continue that long line coming all the way down. So try and keep the control. So you might just hover that leg slightly, then inhale, draw it back to the chest. And exhale. Try and keep the stability through the left side. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhaling away. And inhale, rebend the knee, place the sole of the foot down. We just rock the pelvis from side to side and then re-establish the length through the sides of the spine. Inhale, drawing the left thigh to the chest. Press up through the foot. Exhaling, keeping the leg nice and long. Stability in the pelvis all the way down. Inhale. And exhale. So you might find the movement feels quite different between the two sides. So for me, in my right side is kind of crunchy. It's like the tendency to sort of misfire into the ball and socket joint. So just notice that and see if you can even out the movements in any way. Keep the engagement, taking one more. Brilliant. And rebend. So both knees are lifting towards the ceiling. You're going to press down into the feet, dig the heels in. So you can either keep the toes lifted if this helps you to keep the heel engagement and finding some strength by pressing the heels forward and the thighs engaging, or you might bring the toes back down and keep them spread as you begin to lift and roll up through the pelvis. So bridge pose is brilliant for opening up into the fronts of the hip flexors, especially that psoas muscle. I'm just going to take a few rolls up and down. So exhale as if you're doing cat and cows on the floor. Slowly roll all the way back down through the vertebrae and the tailbone to be the last thing to come down. Inhale to engage. Press your heels forward. Begin to lift the pelvis. Slowly roll all the way up to the space between the shoulder blades, base of the neck. Exhale, rolling back down. So just continuing with lengthened breath to movement. Remember that engagement of the heels, lengthen the thigh, knees towards the front of the room, and exhale. Inhale, and exhale. Inhale, and exhale. Okay, so once you come down this time, just take the feet mat distance or wider, arms out wide, windscreen wiper from side to side. It's not about kind of bringing the knees down to the ground, but just allowing the freedom of movement in the pelvis and ball and socket joint of the hip to move quite freely. So we're using the outer hip flexors as well as the freeing up space in the inner thighs with this one. Okay, so come back to the center. And then going to bring the feet back to where they were. Hug your right shin into the chest. So just gently pull the shin in a bit closer. And the option here to bring the forehead up to the knee. If you're really tense in the neck and the shoulders, you might leave the head down for this one. And then the third option is to extend the opposite leg. Just see how that feels. Breathe nice and deeply. And then gently bring the head down if it's lifted. And bring yourself back to center. And then come over to the opposite side. So left shin to chest. Forehead towards knee if that feels okay. Try and keep the shoulder blades down the back. Maybe bring the right foot a bit closer, further away from you, or lengthen all the way down. Breathing nice and deeply. One more breath in here. And if the head's lifted, bringing it down. Bringing the feet back. Okay, and just moving the pelvis kind of from side to side. I'm going to take a very, very small movement here. So keeping your feet pressing down. Begin to tuck the tailbone slightly, ground through the lower back. And then exhale, bringing the tailbone down so the pelvis lifts. You can feel the lift of the lower back away from the ground. Maybe the sacrum starts to dig into the mat. Inhale, rounding, flattening the back, tailbone up. Exhale, bringing the tailbone down, rounding and lifting the space of the lower back away. So just doing this a few times. So this kind of isolated movement here is not only good for warming up the psoas, it's also great for articulating muscles in the core, so the opposites. You can feel that contraction on one side whilst one side is relaxed, and vice versa. You can feel how the abdominals need to engage and how the pelvis needs to move to make the difference on the muscles of the lower back. It might just be a very small movement, so being gentle if you're kind of prone to having lower back problems. And then just coming to move the pelvis from side to side. And then we're going to extend the right leg up to the ceiling and start to shake that leg. So you might get a bit of a shake on the microphone here as well. So kind of like bunny kicks towards the ceiling and just allowing the leg to move with that shake. So it can feel really relaxing. The leg dropping down into the hip socket, releasing tension. Okay, and then over to the other side. Keep breathing. Okay, brilliant. And then we'll set up for another bridge pose. So extend the shoulder blades down the back, dig the heels in, maybe lift the toes. Bring your elbows so they're hugging into the body and the palms down. So the upper body is strong here as well. Slowly roll up. Maybe bring the toes down, lift the stomach towards the sky. A couple of choices here. You might bring the hands to interlace. You might grab hold of opposite elbows even. Or bring the hands up towards the pelvis, but we don't want this kind of forcing up of the lower body and the back towards the ceiling. So just allow the strength of the muscles to support that movement. Keep drawing the shoulder blades closer together so the neck is long and the chin is towards your chest. Keeping the knees so they're hip distance. You might notice the weight starting to come out to the side. Just engaging the inner thighs. Take another deep breath in. And then releasing all the way back down. And just moving the hips from side to side. Okay, so a prop that I forgot to pick up at the start of the practice is a pillow or a cushion. So just very simple I'm going to lift the hips and take your pillow cushion or bolster if you have one at home. I'm going to just extend the right leg out. So this is brilliant for the psoas because the hips are lifted and then you can get that length coming into the front of the thigh. You might just use a fist here and use the knuckles to rub down the front of that thigh into where the sort of bony protrusion at the front of the hip is. Okay, so just coming to switch sides. So the higher the hips are elevated, the more sort of stretch you're going to get into the psoas. But I recommend easing into it, so not kind of, okay, I'm going to go on the highest lift of the pelvis, because also it can cause the lower back to perhaps overly arch, which we don't really want happening. We don't want to sort of compromise one part of the body for the other. So when both parts of the body feel safe, they can release. And then the perfect way for me anyway is to stay here and extend both legs out long. If you're particularly tight in the psoas, it might feel a little bit too much, so just go back to one leg at a time, see how that feels. Maybe lower the height of what you're using onto the pelvis if it's too much. It can be that you just take a thick folded blanket and then you can work out how thick you want it. And take a few moments here to rest. So extend the arms out either side and start to allow the legs to relax, the face to soften and the eyes to gently close, or the focus to dissipate. Allowing the breath to be natural, to no longer be an effort. Relax the forehead, relax the scalp. Feeling the points of connection from the back of the body to the ground and the back of the body to your prop. Allow the breath to expand a little bit more deeper into the stomach. It's almost like the breath can wash up and down the fronts of the thighs, allowing them to relax a bit deeper, to soften. So you're very welcome to stay here for as long as you like. You might ignore my instruction until the end of the video. If you're on limited time or you feel ready to come out now, the easiest way to come out is to just bend the right knee and then the left and place the soles of the feet down. And just gently lift the pelvis as you draw any props away from underneath you. Slowly roll back down. And you might just move from side to side, windscreen wiper through the legs. Before bringing the shins into the chest one more time. Rolling over to your chosen side in your fetal position. And gently bringing yourself back up into a cross legged or seated position of your choice. Just take a moment to bring the hands to the heart, pressing the thumbs to the sternum, each fingertip in towards one another, feeling the hollowing out of the palm. Bow the head to the hands, thanking your body for all that it does for you every day. And thanking yourself for being here and being present with your body. And making a kind of conscious effort of commitment towards yourself to helping to heal yourself with movement. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me today, everyone. If you like this video and you would like to see others, sign up to the Sanskar Yoga YouTube channel. You can also find me on Facebook for updates and on my website if you'd like to subscribe to my regular mailing list. Namaste.